Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode on the show. I have taken out my time once again to sort out for the best of guests to bring for you guys, like I always do. Yeah, we only do exclusive guests, the top 1% of guests. So, once again, today we have a very special guest today. Today's guest is Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Bilal Ahmed. He's an interventional and structural cardiologist, entrepreneur and co-founder and chief scientific officer of Lila Health, a company developing personalized microbiome therapeutics for heart health by combining prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics. Lila Health aims to improve heart health by targeting the gut microbiome. A physician first and then an entrepreneur second, Dr. Ahmed is known for his straightforward philosophy: no bullshit ever. Dr. Ahmed, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Dominic.
All right. Is it Lila Health, right? That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. Some of these medical terms we leave it for you. Those who are in the medical field. So when I was talking about microbiomes, that was correct as well.
That was correct as well. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So maybe I still have some little knowledge about the medical field. All right. So tell us some of the biggest myths people still believe about heart health.
Yeah. So there are a few. People will often tell me that for example, they don't check their blood pressure unless they quote unquote feel bad. They have a headache or something. So the risk factors that lead to heart disease eventually, if untreated, things like diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, you can't feel them. Unless your blood pressure is so high that you're actively causing damage to the kidneys, brain, or lung, or heart, uh, you don't feel high blood pressure. It's called a silent killer in medicine for that reason. You can't feel that your cholesterol is high in your blood, and oftentimes people don't have symptoms or can't feel that they have diabetes. So that's one thing that the risk factors have symptoms associated with them. The second biggest one that I'd say is, there's a quick fix to everything. You just take a bunch of medications and you're better. Really, the foundation of good health and good heart health remains what it always has been, which is healthy eating and physical activity.
Okay, so for those hearing the term for the first time, just like myself, what exactly is the gut microbiome?
Yeah. So the way I'll put it is the following. So we have more bacteria that live in our body alongside us than we have human cells. And when you look at the DNA contribution, those trillions and trillions of bacteria contribute 150 times the DNA that our own cells do. So the gut microbiome is essentially the bacteria that live inside our gut that sometimes are good for us, sometimes are bad for us, but they actively engage in the way that our body works, and they have different roles depending on which bacteria you're talking about.
Okay, so what does the latest research tell us about the connection between the gut microbiome and heart disease?
Yeah, so the gut microbiome or different bacteria in the gut microbiome have a large role in inflammation, or basically irritation that is whole body or systemic, as we would say, that can lead to inflammation within the heart as well, which is one of the core principles of what causes heart disease over the long term. Specific bacteria actually break down fiber for us because they're rarely are digestible forms of fiber, but most fiber cannot be broken down by the human gut or the human small intestine, and we rely on bacteria to do that for us. That's important because fiber plays a large role in blood sugar management, which determines whether or not you develop diabetes or not. Bacteria also play a role in either increasing the bad cholesterol in your bloodstream, the LDL that promotes blockage in the arteries of the heart and heart attack, or it can decrease it depending on the type of bacteria. And that's just, to name a few of the effects.
All right. So, what inspired your journey from practicing cardiologist to co-founding Leila Head?
It was, in one word, it was an accident. So I, with a few colleagues, started some prospective research in 2017 when I was at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, and we were looking at patients who were getting a procedure called a left heart catheterization, basically a procedure to inject dye in the arteries of the heart and see if there's any blockage. And so there were two groups of patients who had no blockage in the arteries of the heart, and patients who had blockage that required a fix, basically a balloon that opens the artery at high pressures, and then a stent or a metal scaffold that keeps it open. And then we got a rectal swab and did a bunch of kind of sequencing on it, 16S sequencing, metabolomics, basically to show us what kinds of bacteria grew in what numbers, and then what types of chemicals those bacteria make and how they may impact health. And 3 patients shy of hitting our enrollment target, COVID-19 hit. So we lost our funding, which is acceptable. It's a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, but the idea stuck with me, and I ended up becoming a business.
Okay. So, Dr. Ahmed, why should people trust your approach to heart health and microbiome science?
I think my personal mantra and Lila Health's mantra, no bullshit ever, kind of encapsulates it. So if you're going to trust somebody, there are a few reasons why, and I think I offer the most important reason. So I'm not going to lie to you, and the way that I'm not going to lie to you is, for example, if you go to the website, the studies that I use to formulate this are directly cited there or linked, so you can read it for yourself. I write blog posts on the website, and every fact or claim that I make is directly linked to the medical study, so people can, again, read it for themselves and say, hey, this is real, or hey, this is bullshit. And also it's transparency, right? So all 79 papers that I use to formulate the product are readily available. So if somebody asks me, I just send them a link to the shared Google Drive folder that has all the papers. I think that's a large component of trust, is seeing the evidence, or it's kind of like the old saying, show me the data.
All right, thank you for pointing that out, because a lot of people might be having doubts about all this. So, what are the most important things someone can start doing today to improve their heart health?
Yeah, so I'd say the 2 cornerstones again are healthy eating and physical activity, and I'll break it down a little bit more so people understand. In terms of diet, the most heart healthy diet is something called the PESCO Mediterranean diet. PESCO just means fish. So instead of eating red meat like beef, steak, lamb, try to eat fish, the majority of the week. Mediterranean diet just means extra virgin olive oil, leafy greens, 30 grams of raw nuts a day, not candied nuts or salted nuts, but just regular nuts, and then healthy beans like pinto beans, black beans, garbanzo beans, so on and so forth. And then physical activity. You may have heard the magic number, 10,000 steps a day. So there was this great study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology about 2 years ago that looked at what number of steps and what other factors actually play a role in this to improve health. And it turns out it really depends. So for example, if you take close to 0 steps a day, if you increase that to 2,000 steps a day, your risk of heart disease related death goes down by 8.4%. And if you increase from 2,000 to 4,000 steps, that risk decreases by just over 7%, and so on and so forth. The quote unquote magic number seems to be close to about 8,600 steps a day. But the point is that you should increase your steps to a level that is sustainable over a lifetime. Because if I ask you to start running 5 miles a day tomorrow and you're not used to running, you may be able to achieve it for a few weeks, but eventually you'll be like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. So the point is to keep it up forever. And the second thing the study showed was that just as the number of steps is just as important as how fast you take those steps. So if you walk at a very slow pace, it's not going to be as helpful as if you're speed walking.
Okay. So, are there common warning signs of heart disease that people tend to ignore?
Yeah, so it depends. And what I mean by that is people think of the classic, it feels like an elephant sitting on my chest. That's a common sign of a heart attack, but at that point it's almost too late, right? Your artery's 100% blocked. You're actively losing heart muscle, or heart muscle is dying. So kind of signs that could tip you off that a blockage is developing is, let's say you walk a mile a day, and all of a sudden walking that mile becomes a lot harder, meaning you get short of breath halfway through, or you start to have a little chest pain when you're going up a hill halfway through that walk. Things like that can give you a clue, but often it's really, silent. Most heart attacks actually go from, let's say roughly like 10% narrowing of the artery to 100%. Actually, about 50% of them do. So the more important thing I would say is, sure, listen to symptoms, but controlling the risk factors so that you never have to worry about symptoms is the best way to approach it. But that being said, for women in particular, they tend to have what's called atypical symptoms, or symptoms that are not classic for heart attacks. And that may show up as jaw pain or neck pain or heartburn that won't go away despite taking an antacid or doing the stuff that normally makes your heartburn go away.
All right. So, how much of heart disease is influenced by lifestyle versus genetics?
Oh, I would say more than half is lifestyle, less than half is genetics. To give you an example, high blood pressure or hypertension constitutes 47% of the risk of coronary artery disease, or blockage in the arteries of the heart. So that's just one risk factor that is lifestyle related. And certainly there's a genetic component to high blood pressure, but a lot of it is related to how much salt you take in a day and how active you are physically. So if I had to say, discreetly, I'd say probably 70% lifestyle, 30% genetics.
All right. So, are there common warning signs of heart disease that people tend to ignore?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, heartburn is one that people don't really recognize as a sign of heart disease. Swelling in the legs can be a sign of heart disease. There are a number of other causes for it, but it's something that people kind of shrug off and say, hey, if I put my legs up at night, it's it gets better the next morning, but it can be a sign of heart disease. Things like needing one more pillow under your head at night when you're sleeping to feel comfortable, because you can't breathe as well with one pillow or no pillows, whatever you're using at baseline. Those are all things that people kind of overlook and shrug off that can be signs of heart disease developing.
Okay. So, what is your perspective on the latest healthcare policies, and how are they affecting patients and physicians?
Yeah, great question. I think we get farther and farther away from what medicine is supposed to be, which is proactive instead of reactive, basically helping people live healthy so they never have to suffer disease. And we're moving towards, and have been for a long time, waiting until disease happens and then treating it. And specific examples of that are, to give you kind of a framework. For example, yesterday I had in clinic from 8:30 to 11:30 in the morning. I was scheduled for 24 patients. That's roughly 5 to 10 minutes per patient. It's enough time to say hello, here's a medication, goodbye, and it's not enough time to educate them in regarding how they can prevent heart disease. All the questions that you're asking me and that we're talking about now. So incentivizing physicians and other providers to be efficient and see a large volume of patients is not the right way because it means less time with patients and they get less of an explanation. They understand less. And so they're left with just a medication and no real kind of understanding of what actually caused the issue in the first place. Other things that hurt, all of us are what insurance covers. So, for example, if you smoke, the best way to stop smoking is to use something called nicotine replacement therapy. Basically, get the nicotine, but don't have the toxicity of inhaling toxic chemicals. That can be a nicotine patch, nicotine gum, stuff like that. Insurance companies don't pay for those. They don't cover it. Most insurance companies don't pay for a blood pressure cuff so you can monitor your blood pressure at home. All of those things hurt society's health at large.
All right. So, if you could give everyone one piece of advice to protect their hearts over the next 20 years, what would it be?
Diet, exercise, and buy a blood pressure cuff and check your blood pressure once a day, about an hour after you wake up. Those three things will go a long way.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed. So, for those who might not be following up on your messages so far, can you just give a brief rundown of everything the most important things you have spoken about?
Yeah. So I'd say the vast majority of heart disease is preventable, or at least identifiable much before or long before symptoms show up and damage happens. It's important to take ownership of your body. We live in this body from the time our eyes open for the first time to the time that they close for the final time. And so things like, buying a blood pressure cuff and checking your blood pressure every day, taking the extra effort to increase the amount that you walk and how fast you walk, taking the extra effort to follow a fish heavy Mediterranean style diet instead of another type of diet. All those things are things that you can do today that don't require significant extra money, that can go a long way in terms of preventing heart disease, or at least making sure that it doesn't come as early as it could otherwise.
All right. So, Dr. Ahmed, thank you for cutting through the noise and sharing practical, science-backed insights on heart health, the gut microbiome, and preventive medicine. The passion for helping people make informed decisions is truly, truly very, very refreshing. So, for those who would like to connect with you and learn more about your work and, of course, Lila Health, how can they do that?
Yeah, a few ways. So lilahealth.com, LYLAH health.com, has all the studies that I mentioned, the blog posts that I've written. That's a good way to connect. I make educational videos about health and heart health separate from my business on TikTok and Instagram. You can find me at TikTok. It's at Dr. Bilal Ahmed 4, because there are three others, I guess. And then you can always email me at bilal@lilahealth.com and give me 48 hours to respond, but I'd be happy to do so.
All right. Once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking out your time to be here and for sharing with me and my audience your insights and your perspective on health diseases. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed.
Thanks for having me, Dominic.
Have a wonderful day.